Damn, I already messed up the intro. Good evening, and welcome to Whiskey Wednesday. Joining once again is the ninja, Dr. Jason Pittman. We have our recurring favorite guest in RB, and joining the two of us, or now the three of us, there's both of his sisters. One, he threw down the gauntlet that would never come on the show, and Ray New, and his younger sister, or actually they're both younger, CK. Tonight we're going to be talking about your personal brand. I'm your host, Dr. Dan Ford, and this is EchelonOrchid.
Guess who's back?
All right, cheers. Jason,
Cheers.
jinx me messing it up. I started the intro music before. I'll cut that out on the replay.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, at least, three of the, are the Batias, is that, did I say that part right, Batia?
Oh, that is correct.
And
Very good.
two of the three are willing to drink whiskey on Whiskey Wednesday.
I actually love bourbon is my favorite.
How are you all doing this week?
Awesome. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Excellent, even.
Nice.
Couldn't be better.
'Tis the season.
Absolutely. Well,
Best for me.
when Rainu and I were talking about a topic, because we've talked about marketing quite a bit, and I always give Rainu a hard time about marketing, saying like, look, it's really easy, anyone can do marketing, which is really not. I happen to enjoy marketing. I've learned quite a bit from Rainu and her team, and then taking classes. And Rainu's approach is, hey, we should do a show on personal brand, and that sounded pretty interesting. So, Rainu, I'll throw it over to you. What is a personal brand? What's a couple of things that people should take away from the conversation tonight, since you're the brand marketing expert?
Great. Awesome. And I love this subject because it's relevant and it applies to everybody, right? So personal brand, I mean, honestly, in its simplest form, it's who you are, what you're putting out there, what you're projecting to the world. It's the impression you're making. It's not just the impression, it's that promise that you're making to everyone around you. It's yourself embracing your values. It's how you express your values. And most importantly, it's how people see you. And to me, having a personal brand is so critical. Everyone should understand, everyone needs to focus on how they can build their own sort of not only personal brand, but put those, put a list of things together that's going to help them develop their personal brand. And it just doesn't start by saying it. It's more, let's start putting practices in place that you can apply and really stick to it. I can't say one thing and be another. So, having a personal brand is really sticking by what you are. It's being genuine. And sort of my personal brand mission is be the best version of yourself you can be every single moment of every single day. Those people who know me really well, they'll tell you that my mood is pretty much consistent. And Dan, I'm not going to speak for you, but we obviously we know each other well, and my mood is always consistent, no matter what is going on in my life outside of whatever space I'm in. I always try to really put my best foot forward. So for me, having a personal brand is so key, and it is contagious. People do ask. They actually ask me, like, hey, how do you do this? Hey, what do you do? Oh, we want to be like that. Or, hey, tell me more about what you do, because I think it actually draws people in. It exudes those positive vibes. And at the end of the day, that's really what I want to do.
So would you say part of your personal brand is being too nice?
I do not think so. I do not think so. And for those people who think that I'm too nice, you know what? I actually see it as a positive. You know why? Because I've always, ever since I was little, I always give people the benefit of the doubt. So in my world, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. So if you haven't done anything wrong, why would I treat you any other way, right? Now some folks might say, oh, that's gullible, that's this, that. No, it's not. It's I always give people the benefit, always want to listen to their side of the story before I go ahead and start passing judgment and whatnot. So,
Well, so
no,
for those that don't know, it's kind of an inside joke. I'm always telling Raina, you're way too nice. You're way too nice. She's like,
people tell me that
she's like, I'm not nice at all.
I'm like, I'm not nice at all. I'm like, what am I saying?
So,
but I guess it's who I am.
You know,
but don't mistake nice for being weak.
Oh, absolutely. You know, Raina, I did see you outside of your personal brand the last time I was in New York. I saw you wearing jeans.
Yes, jeans, and I think on one of the Zoom calls I was actually in a sweatshirt. It was one of those. It just wasn't feeling good. I wasn't myself, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go on Zoom. I'll turn the video on, and Dan called me out on it. He's like, "What are you doing in sweats? That's not like you." But it's so funny that you say that, because anybody who knows me knows that I very rarely am like in bummy wear.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, you're always of that professional aspect. I would kind of describe your personal brand from my looking as someone that's very empathetic, and you're always trying to dig for more information out of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see.
Yeah, and dig in a good way. Like the more information, you know what? Knowledge is power. So the more information I have about you, it tells me a lot about you, right? It empowers me to. I'm always asking questions. It's just who I am.
So I have a question. Would you agree that by defining a personal brand for oneself, that actually what you're defining is your ideal self in the future? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. However, your personal brand, I mean, a brand always evolves, just like for a corporation, right? Your individual brand also evolves. What I was 5 years ago, I'm very different today. It doesn't mean that I'm not carrying over the same brand. It means that my brand has evolved. And so, yeah, I mean, I could say, you could say for the future, but again, a brand is always changing. It's always dynamic. It's always.
I think Jason's onto something, though.
Right? Yeah, it's growing.
No, Jason, you're onto something, because if you look at a company like Apple, right, their brand isn't changing. Their mission is always about empowering people to be great, right? And it doesn't matter what they sell. As Simon Sinek says, they could sell you a watch, they could sell you a phone. It's their branding is more about the why they exist, and it transcends the product. So in that respect, Apple's brand is really timeless in some ways.
Well, I would go a little bit different with Apple in that they used to be the anti-brand, which is why they got their cult following, and now they're the brand that makes a bunch of garbage phones.
Okay, so they used to be the pirate, and now they're the Navy.
Yeah.
Robbie, I completely understand what you're saying about Apple, but again, having worked on so many brands for so many different companies, brands are always ever evolving. If you are the same brand, if you stick to the same mission and you don't ever move from that or grow from that, I don't know. I would double guess. I would double guess what they're doing.
Yeah, I think we're all evolving.
So what do we think about? How do you differentiate between evolving a brand, and let's keep this as a personal brand, right, versus rebranding? And so Facebook rebranding to Meta, is that really an evolution, or are they trying to change for some alternative purpose?
Yeah,
there's a fine line between evolving and rebranding. Rebranding is really just coming out with a new, and it doesn't mean that you're forgetting about your previous brand or who you were or what you stood for. There are a lot of and again, I'm going to stick to personal brand because corporations, I can talk about that forever. For me, I just feel like personally, you do evolve. Do folks rebrand? Sure they do. Celebrities rebrand to get more PR. They get their name out there. It's a way to stay relevant. It's a way to stay current in the market. There is a different, there's I would say there's reasoning behind it. There's definitely a different motive as to why one would rebrand itself versus evolving. Evolving is sort of a natural course, a natural progression. Rebranding is, intentionally, I want to change. I want people to see myself as someone different. So I'm just going to go and take a different path. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, maybe that's it. If I can real quick, and tell me if I'm off the mark here. And Dan, let us know what your big blue experience is with this. If I'm evolving, I'm just adjusting based on my perception of myself, right? Whereas if I rebrand, what I'm trying to change is others' perception of me.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Okay.
Yep. And how you want to be positioned, how you want to be perceived out there. Yeah. And most, again, I'm going to go back to corporations for a second. Most corporations rebrand, because they've been stagnant for a while and they really want to come out with a bang and build, a different type of awareness. Maybe they have a different mission, but in most cases, if you rebrand, it's because of, especially companies, maybe they're trying to shift gears. It could be a company that's done something, this crisis management mode, and 2 years down the line, they decide, okay, we want to rebrand because we're not that company anymore. But rebrand can also be a great thing. It could be sort of like a rebirth. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting about that, and I'll give my own personal experience. So while doing my MBA is when I chose to rebrand myself. What did I have on that secret, Jason? Like pretty close to 10,000 followers and
something like that. Yeah, it was non-trivial. Hey, by the way, where did you do your MBA at?
University of Michigan.
We forgot.
Yeah, we forgot. We forgot for a second.
Yeah. The University of Michigan, who destroyed Ohio State a couple weeks ago.
Nice job.
But I just deleted it. I got rid of it. I was like, because for me it was not. I realized that I was never going to get the message of technology across to people who already understand technology, and specifically even in cybersecurity. So I just deleted it and started over from scratch. And I've been enjoying it because now I've had to take what I learned at U of M and really put it to work. Because that was that process took like 8 years to build up a following and a persona, actually maybe even more than 8 years at that point. And so I want to be different. I don't want to be seen as just this tech person. I want to be seen as someone who can solve problems through people and processes first.
Yeah.
It's always been interesting to me that the modern tech platforms, especially social media, don't allow you to effectively rename. Your only option is to close it and reopen a new one. And at least in my experience, YouTube used to be that way, where you couldn't rename your channel, and then you could, but only a certain number of times.
Yeah. Yeah. So CK, what do you think about all this? And for those that don't know, CK is the one right here that says her name is unknown.
Am I supposed to write my name down? It says
Yeah.
you.
You were, but don't do that now because then you'll have to log off or something. I think you can do it while you're on.
Next
I
time.
think this is all really relevant to me right now because I'm actually trying to kick off a new career for myself. I'm not a new career, a side hobby of mine, which is fitness. And for 2022, I'm starting my own fitness company, and I'm really trying to get my name out there and start certifying as a personal trainer and a nutritionist, and something that I want to do on the weekends, but something that I feel like would be awesome if it, I can get into it, and as I get older, it would be something that I would spend more time doing as I get more clients. So building my personal brand, as I was telling and talking to Raina, because she's the expert at this, is something that's really important for me right now. So I'm just trying to get into this, and I'm trying to understand. I just took a leadership conference. I just did a leadership seminar a couple of weeks ago about our own personal brand at work. I don't want to talk about work, but I work for the government and what my personal brand is there. But I really need to like focus on how I'm going to be seen as a fitness professional and putting myself on, social media and just how to brand myself. So, people take,
So,
I can grow my.
what is preventing you from going all in on your fitness and nutrition company right now?
Oh, that's because I have a really awesome career at the government. So I wouldn't even think of, I love what I do. I'm a federal investigator and I love it. I've been doing it for a long time. So yeah, no, that's not something that I'd want to, I'm really looking more towards when I retire, like 15 years down the road, establishing myself as in the fitness industry, getting my name for myself, and then, something that I could focus on, after retirement. It's just I'm so passionate about it. And, I've been having over the past couple of years, a lot of people coming up to me and asking me if I could help them in their fitness journey. And, nothing would give me more happiness and just if I could empower anyone to, take their health seriously and get them the way that, I was brought into the fitness world. I was, after I had my son, I was, I was just, I never really worked out before and I got into it when I was about 30 years old and I fell in love with it. So, I had really great trainers and people who, empowered me to get into it. So that's what I want to do for people. And I'm, but it's not something it's going to take me time to grow my business and grow a following and grow, have enough clients. So, I mean, financially, it's not something that I'm ready to do, full time right now. But eventually, yeah, of course, I'd love it to be my career. I mean, that would be great. And that's something I definitely look forward to in 15 years.
Yeah, I don't know if Ray knew and RB told you, but my wife and I started a distillery as well.
Oh, that's nice.
And she has leaving her job of 25 years of engineering at the end of the year. And part of that's because I kept reminding her, if you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats.
Makes sense.
That's a good thing.
I didn't. Julius Caesar said it first, but I'm bringing Caesar back.
I mean, look, I'm bringing Caesar back. I like that. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. But I mean, is this something? How long have you been involved with the distillery?
It's been a little over a year, so we are just going into production right now. It has been a lot of fun to do this, building that brand, and part of that particular brand comes out in that we are looking to lift the spirits, literally, of the communities in which we serve. So,
Wow.
as part of that, we are putting on an event on February 1st that is only for women in the service industry, so bars, restaurants, liquor stores in this case, where we've partnered with Brother Gracie Jiu Jitsu, which is in our same plaza. And for all the women that show up, they'll get a month for free from him. And if they happen to attend 8 classes in the month of February, they'll be entered into like a drawing of which we'll sponsor 2 women for the next 11 months in Jiu Jitsu. Mainly because when you take a look at the statistics, every 9 seconds a woman is assaulted in the United States. There's a 1 in 5 chance that a woman will be raped in her lifetime. And if you happen to work in that restaurant-like business, it's the 3rd most violent profession behind police officers and security guards. So I'm kind of like, well, let's start doing something. And so let's literally lift the spirits up in the communities which we serve. And hopefully they'll, sometime in the next year, hopefully we'll be lifting up some, Dragon's Mouth Distillery.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome how you've put that, passion of yours in the distillery and combine it with holding events for women in conjunction with this just sounds awesome.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And it just, we just want to do something. Everyone, whenever you go to do something, I would say you may wind up facing this in with what you're looking into. And people are going to go, well, everyone's doing, fitness right now. Everyone's doing nutrition. I just go, okay, sure.
Well, that's where the brand really matters, and that's
You
where
got
a good
it.
That's exactly that.
stands out. You know, how does she differentiate, you know, between herself and the neighbor that's trying to do the same thing? And there's many ways you can do it. You just have to be really creative. I like the way, Dan, that you're doing it, because that truly stands out. I don't think there's any
That's yeah.
spirits company that's doing anything similar to that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's really the missus. I mean, I came up with the original idea, but she's kind of run with it. I get to play the stuff that I got to learn. Like, all right, I'm going to deal with the marketing. I'm going to deal with, you know, well, she's much more creative than I am in this case, so she does the design stuff, but how to get it out there, how to do the search engine optimization, how to do tracking, how to get the, you know, marketing automation done, you know, things like that.
But that's all easy stuff, right?
Yeah. It just took me a little while to figure it out.
Right.
I love that you're thinking so out of the box about like how to, you know, just get your name out there and do good for women and do. It's so great. I have to I had to think out of the box about my business and my personal brand, and it's just really good idea.
Right, and I think RB, you'll be, you know, in a way, because you're going through kind of like a little bit of a rebrand of yourself.
I am. And,
your name is now RB, so that's a
being RB and trying to be original, and being on this podcast for a year now.
Yeah,
I've learned a few things.
1 year.
And thinking about the why, right? So I do a lot of things that are eclectic, you know, and I've now been teaching for 15 years and teaching right now at Fordham University. I'm really enjoying that. And I'm trying to connect the dots. Like, why am I doing all of this? And ultimately, I think that my why is to provide value, to enable people to become better, but not just people, myself, my relationships, my organization, my team, because my background is projects, right? And when I look at that, I like to look at Simon Sinek, and I use him as sort of a guide. And you think about the why you exist. We're on this planet to do something. And for me, it's about enabling others and to get them to be better and add value. So at the end of the day, we ask ourselves the question, did I add value to myself, my profession, my family, my community, my organization? And if you can answer generally yes to those things every day, then you're getting better every day. Then you drop down one layer and you get to the how we're doing that. And for me, that's teaching or coaching engineers, and collaborating with people on a project, let's say. But the what then becomes really driving innovation and improvement continually. And so I have now picked up 3 different people that I mentor and coach independent from work. And I find out that, you know, one gentleman that I'm coaching has been in the industry for a long time. And I recently coached him on a potential career change. And it really, I learned a lot about myself, but over a 6-month period, it was pretty effective. And he said, you know, you're kind of good at this. Look at this as sort of setting a benchmark for yourself. And so I think what I'd like to do eventually is take the coaching and take the teaching and the training and go in more into coaching. And so maybe that's the future for me, as I try to continue to clarify my why. And as Renu said, you are evolving. If you're not evolving, you're not human. If you're biological in any sense on this planet, you're always evolving. And for me, you don't have to be better than anybody. You just have to be better than you were yesterday.
Yeah, but and don't you find, well said, absolutely. Collectively, I'm interested in everybody's opinion on this idea. Like, I find, especially young people, and myself when I was younger, there was this idea of what's my purpose, right? Whether it's the purpose of doing something or it's the purpose of being or whatever, right? It's like this broad existential question. And as I've gotten older, what I've realized is the answer in connecting the dots of all the questions you just asked, the what, the how, the why, so forth and so on, right, isn't a map towards purpose, it's a map towards destiny. And I don't think those are the same thing. I think destiny is like this meta higher calling that if you're really alive, not just living, right, that you hear that call that you have to answer, and you figure out a way to manifest that, whether that's a distillery, marketing, management, coaching, fitness. And I think that's something very special. And I think that's something special about this platform, right? Because Dan's done exceptionally well growing this. I don't think it's done growing, but let's say over the next 6 months, 100 people see this, just to throw out a number. But what if it's just that one person out of that 100 that just fundamentally changes their life? And I think that's the power of recognizing that there is this destiny out there that every human being that's willing to have the courage to live.
So I think that destiny that you're talking about is a pull. You're getting pulled in this direction. And I learned this 12 years ago. I was on a subway platform at Times Square, and this young guy comes running up to me, and I was with a colleague, running before the train comes in. And he comes up to me and he goes, and he was huffing and puffing. And at that time I was teaching at NYU. And he said, Professor, I got to tell you something. You changed my life. I got this really great kick-ass job at a big construction company. And I don't think I did anything special. He was one of 40 students. So I did recognize him, but not that much. But he knew me, and he said, I'm so happy. And I turned to my colleague and I said, I feel like no matter what happens today was a good day. Today was a good day, right? I changed somebody's life, but that really wasn't the purpose. But then maybe that was the building block. I don't know.
No, I think you're onto something. Destiny isn't a destination. It's the journey that you're being pulled on towards somewhere that you may not even be aware of, right?
That's right.
100%.
Yeah.
So true. Wow.
So Renu, this would be a good time for you to share, for the first time ever in this universe,
Oh my God.
in an alternative universe, in this universe, where you can't travel faster than the speed of light, although I read yesterday that they've developed a warp bubble in a physics lab. But Renu, can you do the reveal, please?
Oh my God. This is crazy. So absolutely true story. So talk about branding, right? And wanting to build a personal brand since you were, small. And there's no age requirement when it comes to brand. There's children who form their own identities at, 2 months old, right? And they carry that on. So true story, when Ravi and I were little, this was like elementary school years. We must have been.
You
were 7, I was 10,
RB.
like that.
RB, I'm sorry. So when RB and I were younger, elementary school age, maybe 3rd or 4th grade. I think it was like 3rd grade, must have been. When most children were playing with race cars and doll houses and Legos, RB and I swear this is a true story. We would sit
had a friend, though.
on a desk in a 1-bedroom apartment in
Mention
Queens,
the friend.
where we grew up with a friend. He was a family friend, and we would sit there as children and strategize what we wanted to be when we were older. And we would throw ideas around, and then one day we all came back with some ideas, and we said, okay, we want to build like a $1 billion corporation. Children, I swear to you. So RB and I came up with our own business plans as kids. The name of his company was Futura Enterprises, and mine was Paradise Island. And this friend of ours, I forget, he was sort of like the COO in the whole.
But he was the customer. He was the customer.
He was the client or the customer?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Client,
I thought he was like the operations guy. Anyway, so.
What was his name?
Oh, I don't want to use names.
His name was Randy Bander.
However, I don't want to use names.
His name was Randy Bander Caterpillar.
Yeah, we made it up. We had personas because we didn't want anyone
His
to know
persona,
as kids.
his avatar.
Anyway, he grew up to be a world-renowned plastic surgeon for the celebrities in Los Angeles. But Ravi and I built this whole business plan, and we took it for years. So we started in the 3rd grade, and I think up to like 7th or 8th grade is when we stopped really paying some attention to it. But it always stuck in our minds to this day. There'll always be some situation where RB will say, hey, Paradise Island, because we manifested this in our heads. He wanted a company like Futura Enterprises that is, brings on all the tech savvy folks in the world who's, maybe there's a technology he thought of in the 3rd or 4th grade that we would have thought, oh, this would never happen. You only see that on the Jetsons. Well,
Flying cars.
The pandemic clearly showed us that everything on the Jetsons truly did happen. Whatever genius thought of this so many years ago. And then myself, I created Paradise Island, which was really sort of, how do you get to this exotic destination and wow your clients and so forth. So long story short, I think our branding vision started really in the 3rd grade, and how we wanted to make a difference and how we wanted to show people that we're truly different. So I just thought it was relevant to bring it up today, but true story. And somewhere, I don't know, I'm sure we threw it out by now after all our moves, but I'm sure we had those business plans written in little broken pencil and eraser somewhere.
Were you already in the U.S.?
Yes.
Nice.
Yep.
Flushing, New York.
Yeah, we grew up in Flushing, New York. Yep. So it starts at an early age, and I think you said it, Jason, when you manifest a feeling or an idea or a vision, I am a true believer that if you manifest, and it's funny because I tell people, just manifest it, it'll come true. It absolutely will come true. I always wanted to have a place that I can call my own in a Paradise Island type of setting. And I manifested it to the point where I sort of made it happen. So again, it's all you got to do. Keep believing in yourself.
Are you calling Long Island a paradise?
No, that's not. Well, listen, I love Long Island. It's my home. And yes, so I guess it is paradise for me.
I mean, it kind of fits like in a weird way, right?
It does, because it's an island. I've been a New Yorker my whole life since I was the age of 3. So I don't know any other place as home. So Long Island has been it for me since the age of 17. We moved to Long Island. But no, I'm talking about outside New York. But again, it's that whole vision of, how do I make this happen for myself?
So what do you think is next for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh boy. I mean, there's a lot of things I want to do. I love to learn. I love to just self-develop. Like Ravi said, you're what do you learn today that you didn't know yesterday? And even if it's one thing you do different, you take that away with you. I know for me, I have a really strong interest in diversity and inclusion. I've just completed my certification at Cornell for diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want to keep that going. And who knows? Maybe we can start a new role as like a chief diversity officer or something. I don't know. I really have a very strong passion about it. I grew up being a minority Indian girl in a all-girls Catholic high school where people would look at me like, who are you and what's a reindeer? So when everyone else, really, ever since then, I felt like, instead of turning that negative into bringing me down, I actually thought of ways where how can I just take what I've learned and been through and teach other, whoever it is, men, women, teach them how to overcome obstacles like that. Because I've been there. I've been in financial services my whole life, and there are a lot of times where I've been the only woman in a boardroom in several companies.
I find it very sad that here we are getting ready to go into 2022, and we have to have a section called DE&I. But I look forward to a future where none of that matters. It's just,
Well said.
it is just, you're a good person or you're not.
I know.
You bring value or you don't.
It seems
And no
so
one
basic.
cares about any of these other things. All of those other things become moot. I don't know, but I would posit, or not posit, I pose a question to each of you. Do you even think that we'll see that in our lifetime?
I hope so.
As the norm, rather than right now, I don't believe it's the norm.
I think we will, unless I die tomorrow.
I think we've already started seeing it a little bit, but we have a long way to go. And the reason why it's so critical and so important is because situations like that still occur today. Conversations still, inappropriate conversations still happen. People think that they can step over people and undermine them in some fashion. And until that happens, and that continues to happen, until people, when that stereotyping still occurs, or when until that keeps happening, we're going to have to start educating, and DE&I programs is one way to do it, is really just talk about it.
Yeah.
I think that this idea of branding now, let's take it really to a different level here about putting people in boxes. Now, if you look at our founding fathers, look at a guy like Benjamin Franklin, who was an inventor, a writer, a politician, a farmer, a diplomat. What was his brand, right? So many times we have to be careful. We can brand ourselves, but let's not put ourselves in a box. I'm going to share a very interesting story. One of the best lessons I ever learned in graduate school was a humbling experience. I was in an accounting class where the professor was a very accomplished consultant with a PhD who was teaching financial accounting. And I was just an idiotic, 23-year-old. And I asked him, Professor, are you Egyptian? Because you got a really strong accent. And, trying to be funny or whatever, And he said, look, you're trying to put me in a box. And I don't appreciate that, because I'll tell you my life summary. I was born in Egypt, but I got my PhD in New York. And then I did my postdoctoral at Stanford, and I did consulting in Michigan. And then I went I did engineering work in Texas, and I went to France. I lived in England. What am I? Am I a writer? Am I a professor? Am I an accountant? Or am I an engineer? He said, don't put me in a box, and I will not put you in a box.
He's a Michigangster.
I'll never forget that.
Because he didn't work in Michigan, he's a Michigangster. That's all. That's.
So let's be careful not to. I know it's important to have a brand from a business point of view, but deep down, the human experience calls for everybody. And I had this conversation last year with the head of HR for a major company I was working for, and I said, "Look, you have a lot of attrition with your engineers. Do you realize that as long as you pay your engineers reasonably well, they're only looking for three things, the same three things that every human being is looking for: expression in their work, joy in their work, and relevance in their work. And so forget all this other bullshit. If you can find those three things, which, by the way, most corporations do not know how to do, you got it made. You will not lose people."
But there's an aspect, and I can't remember what I was trying to look it up. I couldn't find it, but there's this psychological aspect that people tend to gravitate towards those that, in a way, look like and think like them. I can't remember what it's called. It's like homogeneity. I don't even know. I'd have to go back. I was trying to find it real quick. But I'm hoping that will evolve to people will tend to gravitate towards those that think like them rather than the look like. And I'm hoping the think doesn't wind up being negative thought, with all the different things that are out there in terms of, let's be about stereotypes. No, I'm hoping people will gravitate much more towards how do we make a better tomorrow, like a true better tomorrow, for all of those that want to take the island.
I like it.
Yeah, right. But I think that's why what actually matters in this context is action. It's how you behave, and I think that's part of this manifestation of brand, or a manifestation of identity. It's, I can tell you X, Y, and Z, but if I don't behave in accordance with X, Y, and Z, it's not true. And when you look at diversity, equality, and inclusion, and these systemic social issues, I would argue that it often manifests because there's a lack of action in accordance with those ideals, or action in the exact opposite direction, right? What's interesting to me though is there's nuance to it that I think needs to be preserved, because I would argue there's nothing wrong with wanting to affiliate with a cultural group that you identify with, whether that's based on ethnic background, country of origin, affinity for thought processes. There's different ways to imagine cultural groups. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think where things become wrong is when that happens in a way where it precludes opportunity of others to come into that group.
Mm-hmm.
Because they want to have an affinity with it, right? Not that I'm going to wake up and want to identify as X. That's not what I mean, but particularly when you're talking about action's something anybody should have an opportunity to affiliate with, because it's cross-generational, it's cross-ethnic, it's cross-country of origin. It just is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where inclusiveness comes in.
Right, I would agree.
So critical, just that sense of belonging and being able to give people the opportunity of just creating an environment where they feel like, yeah, this is safe. This is where I belong. I feel comfortable.
If you can make your employees feel safe, you can accomplish really great things.
Yep. Agreed.
I think sorry, I was going to say, I think if you want a good social step towards this, we should immediately ban and destroy all square tables.
Good.
It's funny. It's so funny you say that.
I'm not joking.
No, I'm serious.
It's
Square
funny.
tables are so anti-egalitarian.
Whenever if I were to go out with some of my friends, I always ask, like say we're going out to eat, I always ask for a round table, always. And the reason is because everyone has an opportunity to hear what the other person is saying across from them. And the conversation, it's a shared conversation versus, yeah, you sit at any other table, you have two people you're talking to, and believe me, the two across, or whoever's across from you is talking to the people to the left and right. And that's it. A lot of times, it's crazy you say that, Jason, because a lot of times I've literally sat at a rectangular table or square table, and I felt like, especially if you're sitting in the middle, so be careful if you ever if you're ever the first one to come to a restaurant, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get the seat in the middle. That is the worst place to sit, because nobody's ever talk to you. Nobody. You're going to be sitting there all by yourself looking like, oh, okay, there's some really good conversations going on, and I'm not going to. It's so true, though.
See, I don't have that problem because I'm left-handed. So even if I'm first, I always grab a corner.
It's so weird that we strategically think of these things, but it's true. You don't want to.
When you're important, people will want to sit next to you.
Yeah, 100%.
You can sit anywhere you want on the table.
That is very true. What?
I mean, you can sit anywhere you want on the table.
Exactly.
Well, human nature is if you're the first one to sit down, people will sit next to you. But but you make a good point, Dan. It's true.
On occasion, I have them.
What else? What else about personal branding? I
thought it was interesting that you said that personal brand can limit you. Like when Robbie was talking about that, I don't know. It's like really interesting. Like, are we limiting ourselves? It's interesting.
In a way, it's somewhat limiting. Like, ultimately in life, you have to, when people say, I want to find happiness, you cannot find happiness. You're either happy or you're not, right? I mean, look at us. I mean, we're living in this great country. Great. I mean, we are totally blessed, right? Nobody is starving. Everybody has what the rest of the world would consider an incredible standard of living. So we are not seeking happiness, because if you have to seek happiness, it's you're already not getting it. I think the only thing with happiness we can actually do is to be happy and find a way to share it, right? And if you can do that, then you get to a point where you can express yourself because you're truly happy. But the idea of chasing happiness is such a strange concept. And I didn't make this up. I learned this from it was from a Buddhist monk. Might have been Thich Nhat Hanh. He said, you cannot even have let's say this is a coffee. You cannot even have your tea or coffee in the morning in peace if you're not happy. But the idea that you have to go out there and chase happiness is so ridiculous. You're either happy or you're not, and then you go out there and you share it with the world. And that's a better way of looking at things. I think. And I can tell you there are things that make me happy that I don't talk about a lot. But the thing that makes me the most happiest, besides my amazing family and my friends, is that I love to learn. I really love to learn. And when I'm learning something, I think there's a happiness that cannot be described. So happiness is something that is definitely, to a large extent, internal, I think.
Well, I think that's a very great point, and I tend to go through and I subscribe quite a bit to Dr. Jordan Peterson in that life is much more about suffering, and the moments that you find happiness is what makes the suffering worthwhile. Now, I don't think suffering in terms of like, oh my gosh, I'm dying, I've got cancer, but that those aspects of you have to do what you have to do so that you can do the things that you want to do. And those wants are the happiness. You can find joy in anything if you have that particular mindset. You know, I've talked about this on the show and a couple of times on me. I have humbled myself once again by doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've spent 20 plus years doing traditional Chinese martial arts. I felt like I was pretty damn good at it. And I am now like a novice and I love it. I love the stress that it puts me under. I love the mental, the physical fatigue that I feel when doing it, because I know the result, the future result is going to be what's worthwhile. Those moments where you hit that move because you foresaw it. And that joy, that one little moment of joy is what I look forward to. Or for those that play golf, the one good shot that you had out of, if you're an average golfer, 100 plus strokes, it's that one shot that gets you to come back the next week, right? That's the joy, that's the happiness. You just took 100 crappy shots, but then all of a sudden you were in the sand trap, you're already at 105, you hit it out of that sand trap, boom, and that was a bogey that you just made it in from the sand, and you're like, I'm coming back next week.
See how relative, it's so relative, right? This concept of happiness, and we just have to find those moments of. That's why it's important as a team. When you have those little victories, you got to celebrate those victories, because you're going to have losses also. So you have to celebrate the wins.
Love that.
Now, so I'm curious, CK, since you're in the government, it's a very safe spot. So, like, is winning really even a thing in the government anymore?
Well, I mean, definitely. I feel like I have a win when I help an investor not get defrauded by a bad character.
I'm only joking. I spent the majority of my career doing consulting with the federal government, so
Yeah, no, I mean, I take pride in what I do at work because I'm a civil servant. I'm here for the American investing public. So
do you think? I mean, I don't know, and it's been so long since I've been in the Fed, and last time I checked, I've never been a woman in the federal government. Do you find it different in terms of like how you're treated there versus if you were in the private sector?
Well, most of my experience in my career has been in the government. I was in the private sector for like a year or so, but I can speak from my experience in the government. I've had a lot of challenges, definitely, from what I do, and going back to what you guys were talking about, like being a woman in Wall Street, it's challenging. People taking it seriously, people taking who I'm not only a woman, I'm a minority, and it's not what you would expect. I think Renu had talked about that. It's not what Wall Street men are expecting to see when I walk through the door with my badge and say, I'm here to audit your books and records and potential violations of federal securities laws. I've had many people tell me, wow, this is not who I expect the SEC to send, or like the government. Like, this is not, and some people say in a good way and some people say in a really negative way. I've had a lot of crazy experiences. And that's why it's so sad. There's so much more we have to do that if I walk in, someone takes me seriously. I mean, I'm only 5 feet tall and I'm a minority and I'm a woman and I'm here and I hold a lot of power. I'm here to, people get freaked out, but people use that against me, and I've gotten a lot of it. So
She's gonna mess you up.
it's challenging, but it's helped me become stronger.
Yep.
I mean, I've overcome a lot of obstacles, and I've been in many bad situations where people have I've been thrown out of meetings, been told to leave. Who are you? I don't deal with you. Get me someone who's really works for the SEC. I mean, I've had a lot of bad experiences. So, being taken seriously, we have to really work on all of that, because it's sad that has to happen. So we do have a long way to go.
And I think being a woman and a minority, definitely, that's a double whammy, CK, because
yes.
because unless you've been thrown out of a meeting, you don't know how humiliating that is. I was once thrown out of a meeting. Now, this is not recently. This has gone back about, I'd say, a good 28 years ago, 25 years ago. I was thrown out of a meeting, and I can tell you, when you're the only brown guy being thrown out of a meeting with 25 not brown people, they're sending a message that we're going to throw you out.
I can't. I can only relate because it's happened somewhat with me, but more so from being 20 years junior than everyone else in the room in terms of age. But I don't know that that's the same. I mean, honestly, okay, they told me to leave. I'm like, you're lost. I don't care. But when I hear the missus talk about something very similar, because she's a very good engineer, designs bridges, infrastructure, all this kind of stuff, and she tells me about some of the things that's happened to her, and that she would walk in, they would just ask her to go get her get coffee because they thought that she was like the admin. And she even went to a point to where I think, and I could be wrong on this, but she had said something along the lines of, she didn't even wear a dress or a business suit that was a skirt for 15 years because she wanted to look more and more like a man. And I'm like, I just go, that sucks. Like, why would you do that? And trying to dig into it, I mean, one, I'll never truly understand it, but I just go, that sucks that other people had that much influence over how you were going to dress.
That does suck.
I just.
And I've heard this story before from quite a few women who have done the same.
I know people in my organization have done that.
Yep. Just to be accepted, just to not be looked at, or just to be taken seriously, like to wear pants or slacks, just to be taken seriously.
But Dan, your wife is in the engineering and construction industry.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that industry is still coming from behind. It's come a long way. I can tell you that, but I know from my experience going back 30 years ago, it's a very tough industry for women, and the men did not forget. If you're not like everybody else, it's a tough climb to be respected, just to be the professional that you are as a woman. It's very tough. And I can tell you that some of my best clients that I've had have been women, because they had to almost super achieve. They had to be not only better, they had to be a lot better in order to just have a seat at the table, like we're doing you a favor, just that you're sitting here with all of these grumpy old guys,
Yeah, I would say, and then I gotta run personally, but it doesn't surprise me that somebody's an asshole and like would throw you out of a meeting or tell you, or are you really an investigator? It doesn't surprise me that in a group that's sufficiently large that there's the one asshole that would say something stupid like that. What always shocks me about these stories is there's not one other person amongst those 24 that are in that room that didn't stand up and say, hey, what the fuck is wrong with you? Right. Why would you do that?
Thank you so much.
That's what hurts.
It was that one. It was only one person, and that person was like the head. Who's gonna speak against that? That person is a power.
Cowardice.
But that's what we need.
Power and authority. Is the authority, is the power. He holds all the power. No one's gonna speak up against someone like that.
Well, but I have. When I've seen it, I have zero issues. I give if that's the person who has the power, so to speak, in the room, and that's how they're going to treat people, I don't want to be a part of that organization.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them. And if I get fired for it, okay, it's a job. You pay me for my skills, but I'm not gonna sit by and let this is what I tell my sons specifically. My daughter not yet, she's a little bit younger, but they're all in martial arts of some type. But I tell my kids, I truly believe this as men. You need to be an absolute killer and learn how to control it, because I feel like our in a way, when something bad happens to someone that was unable to defend themselves, you need to defend them. Doesn't matter if it's verbal, physical, whatever it might be. Like that's what you should be doing. Not that, and again, not that a woman couldn't defend herself or couldn't, but when you're humiliated like that, you should stand up for that injustice and put things back on the right course. If you don't, then why is the person next to you going to do it?
Right.
That's how. That's
yeah,
how
right. Because I think we can agree that one thing as a society, which is individually brand driven, is we should become less tolerant of people being assholes to other people.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Here.
100%. Cheers to that.
Almost everyone can cheers to that.
Yep.
Sorry, I'd say I'm sorry, CK.
For me, it's just an abstraction. I'm sensitive to the specific stories, but for me, it's actually a broader social thing. If we just tolerated less assholes, I'm not saying it would evaporate, right? But I think that's how you institute change in a lot of these other specific places. It's just, like you were saying, Renu, I think, you just get one person to stand up. You don't need to change everybody.
Right.
Because if you change one person and they change one person, you're going to get... Yeah, right? Because the reason why people don't speak up is because of status quo. They don't want to defect from that group, right? But if defecting becomes normative and celebrated, then that will push that forward. That's my take on it.
Well, which is a big reason why I am 100% against on social media platforms, the banning of anyone. I don't care if it's the KKK, whatever it is. Let them have that stuff so people can see what assholes they are.
Agreed.
Yeah, all right. Do you really want to be like that? Hey, you want a good example of a bad example? There it is. For those kind of things. But I don't want to, like, I will, and I've taken both of my boys to the Holocaust Museum in Baltimore. Eventually I'll take my daughter. She's 7, so maybe not just yet at 7. But I want them to know, like, this is what humans are capable of. And if you don't check it, it's going to happen again. So stand up for what's right, and I'll be there. But I'll tell all of my kids, and even my 3 stepkids. It's the same thing. I don't treat any of them differently. Here it is.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Good point.
Excellent.
Yep.
Hey, you all can keep talking. I got to run and take care of some personal business. It was really good to meet you guys. I look forward into the future. Dan, we'll talk soon because I need to remind you to pick me up at the airport.
Yeah, on December 30th.
Yeah, it's just around the corner.
We might be distilling that day, by the way.
Oh, nice. Send some samples, please.
Of course.
I don't give a shit what you're doing as long as you're in a car picking me up when I arrive.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, bro. I got you. As always, the best amongst us must always be servants.
Have a fabulous holiday, Christmas, and New Year's.
Yeah, New Year's.
Yeah, you too.
Holidays.
All right, Ninja.
Yep. Cheers, everybody.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, now that we got rid of the lightweights, I mean, so, Ray, going back to the personal brand, I'm curious, because you're the middle child.
Oh no.
Here we go. I didn't rehearse this, honest.
What? Well, I mean, Ray News know me now for almost 3 years. I mean, I do stir it up a little bit on it. So, what would you say is the brand for RB and CK? And don't worry, I'll give you all a chance to say what Ray News brand is
A
too.
brand? You mean what's their brand?
Yeah, what do you? Because I'm curious. Because as you mentioned, and I think this is true, what your true brand is what you portray to the
Yes.
world.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, is what you see as the middle child, is what they want? Is it reflecting what they say their brand is versus what you actually see?
Well, I mean, obviously, look, I've grown up with them. They're my siblings, so I have a lot more intel on their background than what most people would see as a first impression. But yeah, so when I look at Arby, his brand to me
Oh, hold
is
on. It's RB.
Arby.
RB. No.
RB.
Arby as in boy, right?
Not Arby's the hamburger.
Oh, I know that. Arby.
Arby's. Oh my god.
Oh my god, I was saying RB. Okay. R. When I think of Arby, I think of exactly who exactly what he portrays. I mean, it's not even portray, it's who he is. He's like this plethora of knowledge that's walks around and tries to teach everyone as much and tries to like spew a lot of that knowledge on other people. He's always trying to make people smarter and a little more cognizant of I guess their surroundings. And this is what I've seen of Arby even since he was little. It's always, pointing out what you're doing right, pointing out what you're doing wrong, but correcting them and making them sort of get them on their right path. It's funny because when I think of you, Ravi, I almost think of, here's this, and I don't want to call you a Buddhist monk because but I see you as someone who
I'm trying to turn them into Sith.
You respect their values, and I could absolutely see how you have embedded a lot of their beliefs in what you do. That doesn't mean that you walk around like that. I mean, you're a tough guy in New York construction.
Hey, over here.
See what I mean? And then CK, her brand has definitely evolved over the years. As she's grown older, her brand has definitely evolved. She's really come into her own. I think the journey that she's starting now is really going to help her reinforce what she's always wanted to be, and maybe just didn't have the avenue or the opportunity to do it. And that's why I think you should jump on that opportunity. It's all about who you want people to see you as, and what you want, who you are. What are your strengths, and what are you putting out there? If you can even motivate one person to do, to be better,
That's good enough.
To eat better, or to just, whatever it is.
One person change your life. That's good enough.
Change your life in whatever way. You have done your job. I try to do the same. I love to empower women. I talk to women of all races, creeds. I've been through a lot of adversity in my life, and I empower women. Like, do not give up. I was a single mom. So, I mean, I lived through that for a long time. So I tell them, do not give up, and don't ever think any job is, not worth it, or not. Hey, it's a job. They're giving you an opportunity. You embrace it, and it's up to you if you want to take it to the next level. And I try to teach this to women. I try to, I know my friends know that about me too. I'm extremely driven and extremely motivated, and I really don't rely on anybody else to motivate me at all. So now I just wish I had that same motivation when it comes to working out, but that's a different story.
That's why I'm here for you. So hopefully I can get you to,
There you go. I'll do it. If I do it 2 times a week, it's a big deal, but I would love to be more consistent.
CK is my role model. Because of her now, I work out almost every day. If I'm not on the Peloton going crazy, I'm doing 150 push-ups and doing crunches. I'm doing something every single day.
But I tell everyone, just do something, whatever it is, every day. Something you love, or you can make it happen every day.
Wait, so I want to hear the same thing from them, though.
Oh, hold on. Before I get to them, since Raina, you've known me longer than these two. What's my personal brand? What do you see?
Oh, your personal brand. I mean, honestly, I think you just exude confidence. You exude someone who's extremely knowledgeable in your space. I mean, I don't think anybody will ever doubt that when you speak. And it's funny because you're a man of lesser words. So, but the words you do say are very impactful. And so you don't need to keep speaking to make a point. When you say, you could say 3 words and people be like, all right, got it. And you're really good at that. You definitely command attention, when you walk into a room. And I think that's awesome. I mean, what else, would you want, right? So when you speak, people listen. It's sort of like that man of mystery.
You're like E.F. Hutton.
Or that other one, the Dos Equis guy.
Oh, the most interesting man in the world?
Most interesting man in the world.
That is what the missus actually put in her vows, that she felt like she was marrying the most interesting man in the world, which was quite funny. But yeah, there's this. It's funny that you say that, because one of the things I tell a lot of my people that work for me, and some of them work with me, but a lot of them still work for me. There's a little bit difference to that. But I tell them to go back and watch this movie, and it's called Be Cool with John Travolta, and he's this Shylock, and he's looking to go from the movie industry to the recording industry, the radio, and he's going to sign this girl to his label, and she's like, I'm under contract. He's like, whatever, I got this. Well, what are you going to say to them? Only what I have to, if that much. And I live by that when it comes to when I write. When I definitely analyze, how could I say this better and shorter, so that way it becomes more impactful. So I definitely put a lot of
that's a
effort
great
into
point. Less is more. There's an old joke that's, I think it was a Jefferson or somebody wrote a letter once. It was one of the founding fathers, and he said, I wouldn't have written a shorter letter if I had more time.
Yeah. In the book that I'm currently in the process of writing, I go back and I've probably rewritten it. I'm only on chapter 1, and I've rewritten chapter 1 like 10 times. Because how could I say it better? How could it be shorter? Like, how can I get a 500-page book to like 60 pages? So
Yeah.
that's
Awesome.
I appreciate what you said, Raynu. So we'll go with CK. What's Raynew's personal brand? Let's put her on the spot.
I'm gonna have to make this a little quick because I have to actually get off the call as well. But well, Raynu is a very powerful woman. So she's my big sister. So I could go on and on about the impact she's had on my life. But Raynu has just, the way Raynu has gotten into, basically followed her passion for what she loves to do, which is, like she always used to tell me that it was like her dream to be, the chief marketing officer. This is something that she was manifested for so many years, and to see her, come into this role, and like she's just really been a huge motivator for me. She's been this is, if you think it and you can dream it, you can do it. So I always see her, and she's always like, she can wear like 1,000 hats, and so I think her brand is like, she's like, at any random moment, if I call her, she's literally doing like 7 things at once. And I always tell her, I'm like, I don't know how you do it, because I couldn't make like 5 different meals for 5 different people, jump on 5 calls, get off the Peloton, and go out for drinks with 7 friends. I don't know how she does it, but she somehow manages
all day.
Yeah, she somehow manages all of it, and I'm always, that's like, just is something that I aspire to do. I think it's amazing, and she empowers me to do more, which is, why I'm like also, and obviously my brother is, Arby is, he takes on so many different things on his plate, and he's just, like always he's really an inspiration to me. So between both of them, I always feel like I need to, I want to do things that, take me to the next level. So they are just, really great. I'm really lucky to have such great role models.
You say you're lucky, but you're the only one that saw your father off to India.
Oh, you heard about that? Look at that. Great. I am, wow.
Yeah.
You know what's going on. I did. And I was really, look, I was blessed that I could. I was in the right, could be there for him, for all the moments he needed me for. So I'm blessed that I could do it. That's really what it was. And I helped him to the most I could. And he was really, he's grateful. And, now he's living his best life in Bangalore.
Nice. Well, I have to keep you for a couple more minutes. Let's hear RB's thing about Renu, and then Renu and CK, because it's your first time on the show. I need to know what goal I'm going to hold you accountable for so I can hear progress from the next time you're on. So think about that while RB gives us his.
I'll start with Renu.
Yeah.
So Renu is definitely somebody that I've known. I know her so well. She is resilient. I think she epitomizes resiliency. And if anybody thinks they can't do something, I'll just say, well, you know what? I'll have a drink and I'll say, well, go talk to Renu, because she'll tell you how to do it. Or better yet, she'll show you how to do it. And CK is the baby sister that everyone wished they had. She is a role model, and this family would not be complete without her. And she surprises you every day with just new ways of motivating you. And I can tell you that when you have somebody in the family that's so much younger than you, it kind of forces you to be younger, So I actually, it psychs me up to say, I got to be around for my family. I got to take care of myself. And I got these amazing sisters, and they are really wonderful. And keeps an old guy like me, on the straight and narrow.
All right, great. So CK, what goal are we going to hold you accountable for and get some progress on the next time you show up?
Well, I have a lot of different goals, but right now my goal is to pursue my passion and make a difference. So
well, we got to be. So the great thing about goals is they're smart. One of those things has to be specific, measurable, accountable.
Well, I have short-term goals and I have long-term goals. My short-term goal right now is to literally finish my certifications and get myself, get my name out there, get my
so certification. When do you believe you'll achieve this certification?
Yeah, so my goal, I have a goal in place and a schedule. First week of March. March 1st is my goal.
Perfect. Because I'll be finding out. You can't hide.
You seem to know. It's great. Yeah, so please hold me accountable because I have to be accountable.
Hey, it's live. It's not just me. It's all the people that are listening to this. It's now out in the universe, right? Week of March 1st.
When you put it out into the universe, it's going to happen. Just put it out. I believe in the universe.
There we go. All right, Raina. What's the goal that I'm going to get to hold? Because I get to talk to you a lot, so I'll be able to hold this one really good. I can bring this one up all the time. So what's it going to be?
I have so many goals, some of which I've already achieved. I said to myself earlier in the year that, especially after the pandemic, I said this year I definitely want to get out there more. I want to meet new people. I have tons of friends, and I'm so grateful for that. But I don't know, it's just meeting new people, gaining their insights, gaining new perspective. So earlier in the year, I wanted to just, maybe come across different people, make new friends, embrace their cultures or whatever it is. And I've done that. So that I'm really happy about. One thing that I really want to do is this holiday season, and I've been traveling the last 2 years during the holiday season, so it's been a little tough. But this holiday season, I really want to give more of myself. So I want to find an opportunity where I could spend a couple of hours or maybe a day and feed those in need, or help an underserved community, or go into a soup kitchen and either prepare something for them or serve food, or something to that effect. I just want to be able to see a smile on someone's face during the holidays, and give them something that they may not normally get in their everyday life. I mean, that's really a short-term goal. That's like during the holidays. I'm looking for an opportunity like that.
I would posit to you, while it's great to do this during the holiday season, a lot of people, they always feel like they need to do it during the holidays. Do it when it's not the holiday season, because that's when they need it.
No, you're right. You're right. Holiday season more, because I can maybe find the time to squeeze it in. But you're right. There's always time. If you want to do something, you will find the time.
That's true.
Good point.
Awesome. Well, I thank you all very much for coming on. Hopefully you will be back on, both Renu and CK. It doesn't have to be with RB. You got a topic you want to talk about. I know from a fitness perspective, which is really, I don't know, it's funny, haha. But what I hear is, oh, there's this new fitness persona. Well, of course she can do this. She's 23 years old, doesn't have kids, doesn't have family, doesn't have this, doesn't have that. What are you going to do for the women that are professionals and have kids and are juggling? I hear that from the missus and amongst others. So I would love to eventually hear a take on that, and even different small business problems you're going to wind up having. I've got quite a bit of colleagues that might be able to assist in some of those business problems you'll face. So
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, those are the women that I want to help. I mean, I want to help everyone, not just women, men, everyone. But I want to help the women who are, have kids or careers, married, and have like 1,000 obligations, and can't seem to even fathom, like, where do I begin?
I have no idea.
That's where I want to come in and say everything is possible.
Yeah.
Give yourself self-care. Give yourself like 20 minutes. Even if it's 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes you didn't give yourself before.
Right.
So
the missus is constantly hating on me because, since, I don't know, May, I've lost 30 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, I started paying attention to it. And while we're doing jujitsu, most of the times I'm doing about 4 classes a week. And that's sometimes it's like on Monday, this past Monday, I did the 5:30 in the morning class and the 8 o'clock in the morning class. So
wow.
I'm still sore from that.
You're making time. That's what it's about.
Hey, I promised her that I would at least outlive her by 1 day. That way she never has to walk this world alone.
Oh,
Aww.
that's so sweet. Look at you.
Yeah, there's always something. All right, my friends, thank you so much. You have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Right now, we'll be talking soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all have a great week.